Welcome to Life, Lessons, and Laughter with your host, Glenn Ambrose.
Hello, people. How are you? What's happening? Welcome to Life, Lessons, and Laughter with Glenn Ambrose. Mind-boggling action. And I just noticed today, I was just typing in the date in the title of this podcast, and it's 4-4-22 today. So 4-4-22. So add the 2 and a 2, we got 4-4-4. It's got to be a good sign, man. It's got to be a good sign. And I don't know if you guys have felt the energy this past weekend, but wow, man, the energy was insane this weekend. And it rolled over in today. It feels like it's shifting today. But there was tons of self-care needed by this guy, at least. I don't know about the rest of you. I have heard other people mention it today that energy has been extreme. So I know it's not just me. But yeah, the energy's been extreme. Hey, Sarah. San Clemente, California, with a palm tree and a smiley face with shades. I'm gonna have to share that. See everybody? That's it, man. You know, I still get a kick out of palm trees living in the Dominican. It's something I just get a kick out of. You know, when my son was little and we started taking vacations down in Florida, he used to call palm trees vacation trees, which I loved. You know, it's like, oh my God, it's a vacation tree. It's like a tree that you see when you're on vacation, you know. And it's funny because, you know, I lived in Florida for 10 years before he was born, or maybe 8 years before he was born, 10 years total, whatever. But, you know, there's still something about palm trees. I just love them. I think they're beautiful. And sometimes when I see them, it kind of is a little reminder like, Glenn, you're living in a tropical paradise. You know, whether I was living in Florida or whether I was living over here, like I just love palm trees because they are a symbol of the weather that I enjoy. And I'm a warm weather guy, you know, so. It makes me relaxed, which brings us into the topic. See what I did there? See my segue? It helps me relax, and it helps me relax, so therefore helps me not live in a stressful state. That's what we're talking about today. Palm trees. This is Sarah. Palm trees rock. Not a lot of them in New England or Colorado. No, not at all. And you know what's interesting about Colorado? I've had several clients in Colorado, and what I learned there is I heard my clients say, if you don't like the weather in Colorado, wait a minute, because it'll change, right? And I grew up in New England, and we used to say that in New England all the time. So I thought it was a New England thing. Then I heard people in Colorado saying it. I'm like, wait a minute, man, that's our thing, you know. And then I heard about their weather extremes in Colorado, and I was like, oh my God, Colorado has New England beat. I mean, and there's some dramatic temperature swings and stuff in New England, but from what I've seen, Colorado is even more dramatic. So live where you like, man. Live where you like. There's lots of good about New England, lots of good about Colorado, and lots of good about a lot of other places. So live where you like. All right. So today I decided to talk about stress. Why? Because a bunch of people live in it. Oh, oh, here's Tony. We're talking about weather for a couple minutes, people. I guess you haven't been to Texas. We get all seasons in 1 week. See, there's so many places that this happens to, you know? So, Tony, I guess what you're saying is it's worse than New England. See, you grow up in New England, man. It's a small town mentality maybe enhances it. We think we're the only ones, you know? Then you start traveling and you get out of there and you're like, wait a minute. Other people experience this too, sometimes even worse. You know, it's funny. So yeah, I'm talking about stress today. And the reason I decided to talk about stress was very spur of the moment, as it often is with these podcasts. But it just kind of came through a little bit differently than the common way that talking about stress often does. So oh, I love you guys participating. Because I promise I'm going to get right to the topic, but I just got to touch on this. Mike's in Arizona, and Mike knows about New England. I know him from Rhode Island. Yeah, I see you guys loving it in Arizona. I think I would have really liked Arizona had I traveled there. I just didn't. Someday I'd like to, though. I'd like to check it out. And Tony said today it's 80, and Wednesday it's like 50s in Texas. So yeah, it swings a lot of places. So how do we deal with these weather stresses? So yeah, the way that I was talking earlier and the way that it came out was unique. This is why I want to talk about stress today. Stress, pressure. So, I've said this before. Stress is very misunderstood, like a lot of things. I think it's one of the things that we are culturally conditioned to misunderstand. Okay, so if you listen to people talk about stress, they talk about it as if it's an external thing that's being thrust upon them that they have no control over. What I mean by that is, people are like, oh, my job's really stressful. And nobody questions that, let's just say it's a, what people would normally perceive as a high pressure job, like a doctor or something, you're saving people's lives. Let's say it's a fast paced environment. An ER doctor, that seems like it's a good scenario where people would say, oh, my job's very stressful. What are you? An ER doctor? Oh my God. Yes. I can only imagine, so it's one of those acceptable things. And what has happened is, we live unconsciously. So unconsciously, what people it has spread into every job, because being busy is like a badge of honor nowadays. The worst thing you can say to somebody is like, they go, hey, how are things going? What you been up to? Nothing. Just kind of chilling, not really doing much. What? That's not how this game's played. You tell me that you're really busy and you've been doing a bunch of stuff and you don't have any time. And then I tell you the same thing. And then we bond over the negativity. And then we feel comfortable. Like nobody taught you how to play this game. So it's bled into everything being stressful. Every job out there is stressful. It induces stress. And we act like it's something outside of us being thrust upon us that we have no control over. And that is not what stress is. I mean, they prescribe pills for it. Like, are you stressed? Well, then you need this pill. This type of thinking just blows my mind. This is why I have to pause every once in a while when I'm explaining the problem, because I have to explain the problem before I can get into the solution. And it's like we are. One of the things that I love about spirituality is it's the most empowering thing there is. I love empowering people. I love empowering myself. I love the feeling of empowerment. And any place where I'm a victim, or I don't have control over my life, or I'm handing the power of my own experience over to something other than me, that pisses me off. I don't like it. It rubs me the wrong way. I don't like doing it. Maybe it's a residual from getting sober, living for 20 years where I didn't have a choice whether I picked up a drink or not. Like, I had to drink. Many years I literally had to drink to prevent my body from going into detox, and possibly dying. So it's like you got that aspect of it. But I mean, there's a mental obsession and a physical craving for alcohol that is just, and you rationalize, and it warps the way you look at life. So it's the only reality, so once I got on the other side of that and looked back and could see clearly what was happening to me and how I had been living for those 20 years, it was upsetting. I was like, oh my God, like I had no control over myself. I couldn't decide like whether I was going to drink or whether I wasn't going to drink. I couldn't decide whether, and then once I had some alcohol in me, I had even less control over what I was going to do, because I didn't really have much control over whether I stopped or whether I didn't. Once it was in my system, the body craving was just enormous. And the more I drank, the larger it grew. So, I used to say when I was drinking, it's like, if I had one beer in me and I was trying to prove a point, I might be able to stop drinking. If I was really trying to prove to somebody I could, or something like that. But if I had 6-8 beers in me, nothing was going to stop me from drinking. Nothing. I mean, if you wanted to stop me from drinking, you needed to bring a really big stick and a decent size army. That's what it was going to take. So my point is, I didn't have control over it. I didn't have control over my own life and how it went. That's unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. And I quit smoking using that mentality. Because I had already quit drinking. Now I had to quit smoking cigarettes. And it was like, I had moved up to Rhode Island, and it was cold, and I had to go stand outside smoking cigarettes, because over the years you could only smoke outside and stuff. So I'm standing outside freezing, and I don't like the cold, as we talked about earlier. So I'm sitting out there smoking a cigarette, and I did not have a choice whether I was going to go stand outside freezing my butt off or whether I was not. And that rubbed me the wrong way. So I used that as part of my motivation to quit. So I don't like things having control over me. I don't like handing my power away. This is my life. It's my responsibility. I want to take responsibility for it, because then I can control my day-to-day experiences to some degree. Of course, we can't control everything. It's a lot of it's about letting go control, right? I mean, that's just not the dynamic that we're talking about right now. We're talking about the stuff that we are in control of, and we are in control of so much more than we realize. And it's time we start understanding what we have control over and what we don't. So, stress, like if you just slow down for a minute, it doesn't really take too much intellect to understand that the way we look at stress is wrong. It's just wrong. It's not true. Jobs aren't stressful. Stress doesn't come from outside. There isn't a thing called stress. You can't go to a store and buy a box of stress. Stress happens because we're not dealing with a situation appropriately. That's why it's happening. So, because if you take the ER doctor example, some people are very fast-paced. They like intensity, right? and they like the fast pace, and they thrive under those conditions. And those doctors, if they, some of them are still going to say they're stressed, but if they disconnected their brain from society's delusion of just everybody running around saying they're stressed and slow down and wait a minute, there are ER doctors out there that actually enjoy their jobs and don't find it stressful. So because they're going in there, and this is what they like. They like going fast paced. They like being the one. They like, being in the one that's called on in emergency situations, and they rise to those occasions. There's certain people that can do that. So there are people out there that can take, and that's an extreme situation. Now you take that and you put it into just about any other job that's at a lower stress level, or whatever. That I'm sure there's very high stress levels other than ER doctors. But let's just bring it into a normal situation where people are just walking around, oh my God, my job's so stressful. My job's so stressful. You got to stop saying that. Your job isn't stressful, because there's somebody else that has the same job as you do that isn't stressed out. So how is that possible? do you start seeing the dynamic here? That's literally, if your job was the cause of your stress, then you couldn't have somebody with the same job that wasn't stressed. That would be impossible, because the job induces the stress. So if the job is the thing that induces the stress, that's the cause of it, then you would have it, and everybody else that did that job would have it, because the job induces the stress. But that's not how stress works. Stress arises because of the way we're dealing with the scenario. If we're having difficulty dealing with the job, then stress is released. When is stress hormone released in the body? When it's put under pressure. When it's put under pressure in a situation that it can't control, your body starts releasing stuff and starts doing stuff to try to help manage the scenario you're in, right? It's trying to push you towards fight or flight. So this is what our body is under almost all the time. And we wonder why disease is rampant. It's because stress hormones lower our immune system. I've said this before too. It's stress hormones lower our immune system so effectively that they can transplant an organ, right? That literally take an organ out of a different human being and put it in you, and they inject you with stress hormones. Why? To lower your immune system, so your immune system doesn't attack the organ, because it ain't yours. It's foreign. So stress hormones are so effective at lowering the immune system that they actually induce it when they inject it in people when they're going to do an organ transplant. So this is not good for our bodies, right? So whenever something isn't good for us, whenever something negative is happening, it's because we're out of alignment with nature. We're out of alignment with nature's laws. Okay, so this is kind of bringing me to the point of what I want to talk to. We're out of alignment, therefore negative stuff happens to let us know we're out of alignment. So what we're supposed to be doing when we experience stress or pressure, we're supposed to recognize that and go, oh my goodness, this is not good for me. I need to do something I need to learn how to handle this better. I need to get myself out of this situation. Instead, we've designed a lifestyle around it. Now everybody's stressed, and nobody's ashamed of saying it. Like I said, we wear it like a badge of honor. Oh my God, I'm so stressed. Oh, you too? Yeah, I'm stressed. Oh my God, everybody's stressed. It's so stressful living. Isn't it stressful? It's very stressful. And we bond and we connect over that. And it's like, Slow down, people. What you're doing is you're going, hi, I'm living in complete disarray and out of accordance with nature's laws in a very unhealthy way that's destroying my health. Are you? Yeah, I am too. Cool. Nice bonding. Come on, guys. Let's so I'm going to bring the stress talk and as I bring it into the solution, what I'm trying to do is show you a design for living that is much more effective. Okay, so if we are out of alignment with nature's laws, what does it look like when we are in alignment with nature's laws? When we're in alignment with nature's laws, we are not stressed, we are not feeling pressure. And how is that a design for living? It's a design for living because that's how we're supposed to be living. Okay, so the big way, here's the big secret. Everybody wants to know the big secret of happiness and how to live a good life and all that stuff. Okay, well, here it is. You are supposed to live like you. That's the big secret. Okay, you can't be stressed if you are being yourself, because there is nothing easier. That's like a dog being stressed trying to figure out how to be a dog. Should I bark or should I meow? Geez, I don't know. The meowing seems awkward and it's stress inducing. Maybe I won't meow. Maybe I'll bark. So like, this is when we have to start learning that when we're feeling something that is not good, it's funny when I say these words sometimes. Well, it is to me. I don't know about you guys, but I laugh because when you do something that doesn't feel good, but that's how simple it is. When you do something that doesn't feel good, you should stop doing it. We have to learn to be ourselves. When you start looking into happiness and peace and love and spirituality and self-help and whatever else you want to call it, just positive thinking, I don't give a crap what you want to call it. When you start looking at things like that, you'll notice that there's a certain as I mentioned earlier, a let-going of control that we need to do. And when you really start understanding what we're trying to do here on Earth, you start using what I call spiritual terms. Spiritual terms you cannot put a lot of effort in. Like you can't put a bunch of effort into spirituality. Like it goes against the whole energy of spirituality, efforting. So like spiritual terms are things like remembering, remember your truth, forget what society has taught you, allow your true self to come up, open, in a spiritual way, open your heart. If you take any of these terms and you try to go in a corner and do them real hard, you're not going to have any success. Go meditate real hard. That's not going to work. Right? Why? Because it goes again. Whenever you're efforting, whenever you're really pushing and trying really hard, I'm going to over exaggerate to make the point. Like you tense. I'm gonna really try. I'm gonna go get him. And I'm gonna try, and your voice changes, and your muscles tighten, and my brow goes down, and that's efforting. That's the energy of efforting. It's the opposite of spirituality. Spirituality is about opening and allowing. Okay, so it's when we see when we're feeling pressure on ourselves, pressure. Everything negative constricts. It tightens. That's the effort. That's constricting. There's no natural flow of energy through that. There's no peace in that. There's no alignment in that. And I'm not saying, I'm not saying that we never have to effort at anything. Of course, there's times in our lives where we have to put effort in sometimes. And there's a time and a place for everything. That's fine. But I'm talking about how we live our lives. How we live our lives is not supposed to be like that. Push, try, effort, pressure. No, like all that stuff is signs that you're doing something wrong. So instead of wearing stress like a badge of honor, we have to start seeing it as a red flag and going, oh my God, I'm putting pressure on myself. Why am I putting pressure on myself? I must be trying to be somebody I'm not. You're trying to live up to standards that are not your standards. You're trying to be somebody that you are not. You're trying to do something that you're not supposed to be doing, or at least at a level that you're not supposed to be doing it at. That's why the pressure is there. Or it could be that your perspective is off. You know, you need to go in. There's multiple reasons, but the simplified point is, if you're feeling pressure, there's something wrong. Red flag. Phew. Those bottle rockets. I wish I could make a bottle rocket song from my childhood. But, you know, that should be a bottle rocket going off that something is wrong. And then if we start seeing this, and then we can start making adjustments. You know, so sometimes it's our perspective. It's the way we're looking at things. Actually, many times that's what it is. You know, we put stress on ourselves. It's like you know, because one time I experienced, I had this job where my boss thought I should do a certain amount of work. And my job was new, it was newly created. And in my opinion, he wasn't taking into consideration, like they figured out, like, if you do this task, it takes 5 minutes. If you do this task, it takes 20 minutes. If you do this task, it takes an hour, and all this stuff. And then he added all that up and said, okay, you should be able to get this much done. But he didn't take into consideration all the variables in there, because at this job, it had tons of variables. Well, yeah, if I pick up a phone and I call a company and I say, hey, can you do this? And they say, yes, I can. And then we set the date and I hang up. Yeah, that was 5 minutes. But the phone calls very rarely went like that. You know, you had to call 4 or 5 of them because the first 3 were too busy or something and couldn't do it. So then you had to find another. So there was variables is my point. This was my perspective, not his. So this was a place where I had to learn this, because I wanted to get a reasonable amount of work done there. I didn't really care if I lived up to his standards, but I'm usually a pretty high performer. Like people aren't usually on me going, hey, Glenn, you need to do more. Like, that's not usually the problem. Usually I can function at a pretty high level, and I could not get anywhere near where this guy wanted me to. Now, I hated my job, and I'm sure that I could have done better, but there's no way in hell I could have gotten where he wanted me to be. And I was putting pressure on myself, and I wanted to lash out at him, which, you know, I did here and there a little bit. I tried explaining it to him. I tried all this stuff. He didn't want to hear it. So I had to understand that I am responsible for my own happiness. And I printed out this thing that said that I am responsible for my own happiness. I think it might have had one other line too, but I printed that out. I put it in a picture frame and I put it on my desk, and I used to read it to myself and remind every time I felt any pressure coming up. And I just sit there, Glenn, I realized, see, this is what we need to do for our inner work. And this is, you know, to me, it's spiritual work, but this is just logic, people. Like, you don't, you don't have to have some like specific belief about spirituality or anything like that to follow the logic in this. Like, I wasn't happy. I was feeling stressed out. So what did I do? Did I, oh my God, it's not fair. No, I put the responsibility of my life on me. And I figured out that my happiness was my responsibility. He was going to keep loading work on, and he was going to keep giving me shit for not doing it. That he had proven that by his actions. That's what he was going to do. So I had two choices. I either quit or I learned to deal with it. And I needed money, so I didn't want to quit until I had something else. So I had to learn to deal with it. So what did I do? My happiness is my responsibility. I understood that the stress that was being put on me was by me. It was by me. It wasn't by him. He was doing stuff, but I had a choice in how I responded to it. And my choice is, oh my God, he wants me to get all this done. I can't do all this stuff. Or what I was training myself to do in that scenario was going, I understand that he thinks I should do this. I understand that he wants me to do this. It's not going to happen. And I'm okay with that. I am okay with that. And we'll see how this plays out. You know, and if there's other steps that I can take, I will take them. I ended up going to HR because this guy would not get off my ass. And, you know, so I took the steps externally that I needed to take in that situation. I ended up leaving that job, thank God, because I hated it. And my life moved on. But my point is, while I was there, I wasn't sitting there in a victim. It was a negative situation. It was a negative environment. It wasn't someplace that I was supposed to be. But what am I going to do about that? Am I going to use it as a learning opportunity, or am I not? Now here we are 15 years later or something. And I'm sitting here using this as an example as how I learned to take responsibility for my own behaviors and not be stressed out in a stressful situation. You know, he used to come slap, like I would just maybe start getting to where I had a reasonable amount. Like, you know, it was files. So like, you know, some jobs, I'm sure some people can relate to this. It's like when the stack of files is starting to get lower, you start feeling like you accomplished something and you start feeling better. And then all of a sudden, like 15 minutes before closing, the boss comes and throws another stack on. And you're like, oh my God, I was just getting there where there was, you know, I thought I had a handle on the amount of work I had to do, that I was actually kind of caught up and doing okay. And then now that gets slapped on and I have to go home. So this is the first thing I'm going to come into, a stack of work that's overwhelming, right? But what did I do in that scenario? I worked on myself, because I can't control what he does. I can't control my job. I can control my reaction to my job. I can control whether there's stress hormones shooting through me. And I didn't do it perfectly, you know, but I worked on it every day until I left. And I grew from it. And because I did that when I was in other situations, because there's always something that gets stressed out. I got my own business. You think that has no stress-inducing possibilities? I should have used that as an example. There's plenty of stress-inducing possibilities when you own your own business, you know? But I didn't, as I designed my business, this is a nice thing, is I designed my business very consciously. You know, there was like when I was getting stressed out about my business, I was like, Glenn, what are you doing? You're getting stressed out about your business. What's the point? Why build a business that you're going to be stressed out about? You know? And I mean, this is something about entrepreneurism. You know, entrepreneurism is not easy. Having your own business is not easy. But it's right for me. It's like it suits me. So is it easy? No, it's not easy, but it works for me. It could be very stress inducing for a lot of people. Most people that own their own businesses run around complaining about how difficult it is and how stressed out they are. It's like, that's your fault. That's your fault. It's your perspective. It's how you designed it. It's your business. Like, we have to start taking responsibility for ourselves here, you know? So design a business that isn't stressful. My business now isn't stressful. I was talking with my I was putting some effort into growing the Instagram because that's part of my business. So I was meeting some new people, and there was somebody that was talking to me that basically helps entrepreneurs get their business under control, like with structure and apps like scheduling and all kinds of stuff. And I'm sure they're very good at their job. And I'm sure that they're very helpful, and a lot of people could benefit from that, right? But they contacted me, and I said, no, I'm good. And, you know, a lot of people, you know, I mean, I can usually read their energy pretty good. I know what they want. You know, I mean, they want what everybody wants. They're trying to feed their business. So they meet an entrepreneur and they say, hey, can my services help you? Nope. And they go, that's weird, you know, because that's not the answer they usually get. So they start asking questions, and it could be out of curiosity, or it could be to try to find a wormhole to pop through with their, hey, I can help you with this, you know, whatever. And I like to have those back and forth sometimes. So I did with this person, and they said, like, they're like, well, how do you run your business, like, in certain areas? And I told them, I'm like, you know, scheduling isn't really much. I have my consistent clients. I'll pick up a new one here and there, but the scheduling takes me 15 minutes. So, I mean, and that's, you know, every month or two. So I don't really need an app for it. I like having the flexibility to schedule however I want. So I'm good. And then as far as, you know, my marketing and stuff like this, I have somebody that helps me with some of the day-to-day stuff and some of the back-end stuff with my websites and stuff. So I don't have to do that stuff because I did all that stuff for many years and I don't want to do it anymore. So I've got somebody that helps me with that. And I have someone highly capable that I don't have to worry about. And it's wonderful. And, you know, most of it kind of, and my podcast feeds my business. So that's kind of, you know, I just do that. I've been doing it for 8-9 years. It's pretty consistent. No stress around it. Nothing I need to, you know, my business is fine. And when I went through the specifics, she was actually very impressed. And she was like, wow, how did you figure all this stuff out? It's like, well, I designed it that way. And this is what a lot of people don't do. They don't design their business this way. But that's the business owners. This still applies with other people with their lives. Like we're designing our lives. Listen to that again. We're designing our lives, our day-to-day. This is what very few people look at their day-to-day activities and make decisions based on what their day-to-day is going to look like. Very few people do it. One of the most common things is you have a chef opening up a restaurant and they never cook again because they're too busy doing everything else. You know, if a chef wants to open up a restaurant, what they should be doing is they should be researching a business manager and get the best business manager possible to run their business so they can cook. You know, but opening up a restaurant thinking you're going to cook, I mean, in most situations is unrealistic. And I get it. I'm an entrepreneur. I did everything myself for a while. There's nothing wrong with that. But like I said, design, you work towards something, you're walking in a direction of, and you need to be conscious as to what you're walking in a direction of. I'm not, you know, it doesn't look like I go, oh, Glenn's designing his life with no stress. And then I sat down and wrote everything down on a piece of paper. And then the day after, like, everything was fine. That's not what I'm talking about. It took years of me constantly making adjustments to handling situations and figuring out ways that I wanted to live so I could create a life that I don't need a vacation from. I don't need a vacation from my life. That's on purpose. It's because I designed it that way. You know, if there's certain aspects of my job that induce stress, well, when I feel the stress, I go, why is this causing stress? Oh, because I shouldn't be doing it. Oh, okay. Well, I should give that duty to somebody else and have them do it, because it takes me twice as long. It's stress inducing and it's no good for me. And I don't want it included in my day-to-day life. So I'll give it to somebody else. Okay, cool. Or, well, geez, Glenn, you know, your accounting takes you a half an hour a month. Maybe you should just change the way you're looking at it. And maybe it's the way you're looking at it that's causing the stress. So if I look at it and go, okay, wait a minute, I get to work, you know, 2 weeks a month, live in paradise and do what I love for a living. To support this, I need to spend a half an hour doing some accounting work every month. Suck it up, man. You know, it's okay. It's only a half an hour and it supports a life that you enjoy. You should be grateful that it only takes a half an hour for you to do this accounting, and not, you know, maybe you're looking at it wrong. Yeah, okay. And then I shifted my perspective, the way I'm looking at it, going, oh my goodness. And I'm doing my accounting and I'm thinking, oh my God, you know, like all I have to do is this for a half an hour, just putting some numbers. It's really not that big of a deal. And if I do that, then what's going to happen is, like, I get to live the life that I want to live just because I'm doing this for 30 minutes. Okay. You know, so I shift my perspective, but we have to do something. You shift your perspective. You have to change the way you're looking at it. So it's not, you're not, you know, I did a podcast on this a while ago about choosing. Like, we are choosing to do this. I choose to have my own business. How can I be a victim of it? Oh my God, I'm so stressed out. Well, like it's happening to me. It's not happening to, if you have your own business, you can't, nobody can act like that. We need to change narrative around this. This is what frustrates me. It's the way we talk about it. We know what frustrates me is that people say things out of their mouth that don't make any sense whatsoever. It literally does not make sense if you slow down and look at it. And we say it out of our mouths, and everybody around us says it out of their mouths, and we walk around acting like it's true, and it's literally not. This is most of the conditioned society in which we live. Most of the ways we live do not make sense. They literally don't make sense. Like I said, if you have 10 people that own their own business and 8 of them are stressed out and 2 of them aren't, there's something wrong with the 8. There's something wrong with the 8 that are stressed out. If there's one person that's not stressed out doing something, that is your, and everybody else is stressed out by doing it. That is a red flag that everybody else is doing something wrong. Because stress is an external. It's not a thing. Stress is induced because we don't know how to handle something appropriately. Our perspective is off, or we're doing something that we shouldn't be doing. That's where stress comes from. So let's see some of these. I'm going to just scan through some of these. Yeah. See, this is, you guys are all getting it, you know? Yeah. And I mean, you know, we can go, you know, self-care is wonderful. Big proponent of self-care. I think everybody should go get a massage regularly and do anything that makes you feel good. Anything. Take a bubble bath. Anything. You know, absolutely. But we also don't want to live in a way where we stress ourselves and then need something else external. Let's just not live in a way that stresses that stress. Like, you know, I'm fairly low on stress and I still enjoy a massage. like it still feels good. It still relaxes my muscles. And I think I probably enjoy it more because I'm not just trying to get back to normal. Do you see this? This is what addictions do. Okay. I didn't know we were going to go into the addiction aspect, but unhealthy behaviors are addictive. This is why everybody does them. Right. So like take cigarette smoking is a common example of this. Like they basically say, once you get used to smoking cigarettes, that you don't, smoking a cigarette doesn't like get you high, right? What happens is your body gets the nicotine in it, right? And then when it doesn't have the nicotine, you get irritable and discontented. You don't like the way you feel. So then you have a cigarette. Why? Well, to get you back up to normal. That's why. It's not to, like, you don't get high, so you don't shoot higher than a normal with cigarettes. So you're below normal when you need a cigarette. And then when you have it, you get up to normal. Okay? So this is the dynamic that we don't want to be living in. We don't want to be living in a way where we're just trying to get back up to normal. We just suffer through our daily life all the time, and then we get a massage or do something to get back up to normal, or put something in our system or something just so we don't feel like shit all the time. That's no way to live. You know, and this is not like against anything. Like I said, I mean, I think everybody should get a massage on a regular basis, but it's not to get back to normal. It's to feel better than normal. You know, like it should be a treat. It should be joyous. It should be enjoyable. And yeah, you know, like there's many benefits from it. You know, so it's not that I'm anti that. I'm just saying we need to stop looking. This is what's wild, is we have gotten so used to just treating. We've gotten used to treating the symptoms. Oh, I feel like crap. I have to do something to get back to normal. You know, oh, I have to. We're so brainwashed in our society that this is the way we think about stuff. We got to get back to normal. It's like, no, like, look, if you're not living out in a way where you're copacetic with your own life, then you need to look at the way you're living your life. You know, doing things for yourself should be an enjoyable experience. Yeah. So, you know, being authentically you, this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you're living in a way that's out of alignment with yourself, it's going to induce stress. And the best way to deal with that is to start taking control over your life. You know, if you start taking control over your own life, pause for a minute, stop thinking that stress is normal and acceptable, and start figuring out what you need to do in your life to not live with it. You know, do I need to change the way I'm looking at this? Honestly, if you just, everything that stresses you out, I challenge you guys out there, don't do anything else. Just this. I'm going to challenge you that you don't have to change anything in your life other than your perspective. Only your perspective. Just take like 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, whatever sounds reasonable to you. If you're one of these people that thinks they can do it for 6 months, do it for 6 months. I don't give a crap. Pick a certain period of time, put the end date on your calendar, and go and say, whenever something is stress inducing, whenever I don't like the way something feels, or I'm feeling pressure or anything like that, I'm not even going to take any action to change the situation. If there's something, I got to be careful here. Sometimes people take me too literally. hey, if there's something that's inducing stress and you can change it and you want to change it, then go change it. That's fine. But what I'm talking about is, my point is you do not even need to change your circumstances to get rid of at least probably 50% of your stress. Don't even have to change anything in your life. All you have to do is change the way you look at it. Now, I think you should change the things in your life also, but start with this, and then you'll be coming from a better place anyway. Just try to find a different perspective that doesn't induce stress. Okay? Try finding a way of looking at something where you're not the victim of it. Because we're just so, it's just so comfortable to be the victim nowadays. We don't take responsibility for our lives, and we need to. I think, I was just going to say, I think I think Sarah said something about that. Sounds like most of this has to do with taking personal responsibility. It's exactly what it has to do with. Everything is our personal responsibility. Our life is our personal responsibility. So what we need to do is we need to make these changes, just shift the way we're looking at something so it's not stress inducing. Remind yourself that you're choosing to do things. One of the red flags can be, whenever we say, oh, I have to, oh, I got to go to work. No, you don't. You're choosing to go to work because you like the benefits from going to work. And most people I know, that's a wise choice, because the alternative is living on the streets and not being able to eat. So the fact that you made the choice that you're going to go to work and earn a living so you don't live on the streets and you're not hungry, good choice. Well done. Don't punish yourself for that. You made a good decision. And here you are, got to go to work. And we don't realize it because it's such social conditioning. We're constantly acting like what's happening in life is not our choice. It's not our responsibility, and it's being thrust upon us. And then, and it feels good momentarily because we're all living egoically. So it feels good momentarily because we're like, oh, we act like it's not our fault. So then we don't have to do anything to change it. I'm really stressed. Really? What's the matter? Oh, it's that work. Oh, my girlfriend's stressing me out. Oh, my parents are stressing me out. Oh, my kids are stressing me out. No, they're not. You're not dealing with what's happening in your life well. That's what's happening. You're not dealing with it well. Nothing is stressing you out. Nothing has the ability to come into your world and make you stressed. We have control over our own lives. So we have to get back to living, so I'll kind of try to wrap it up with the spirituality aspect. It's, where it's not as hard as people think, and it's not as much work as we make it out to be a lot of times. The longer I'm living this spirituality life, the more I see that half the stuff that I've done in the name of spirituality was unnecessary. I just needed to change my perspective. I needed to change the way that I look at things, and I needed to let go and do non-efforting things. I needed to forget what society taught me. I needed to slow down and just look at things and figure out what worked for me. I needed to design a life that worked for me. Like, I work about 2 weeks a month. Why? Because that works for me. So I work a week and I have a week off, and I work a week and I have a week off. Now I have my own business, so I never have a whole week off unless I'm going to go do something. And then I don't have to reschedule anything, and I just don't do anything. Now, if I'm kicking around the house for a week, which I normally am, then of course I do little stuff for my business during that week and stuff. And, I do it here or there on my own schedule, and I like that. But if I want to go somewhere for 10 days, as a general rule, if I'm in full control of the scheduling, which I'm not always in full control of the scheduling, if I'm not, sometimes I need to reschedule a couple things. But for the most part, I could take 7, 10 days off in a row without rescheduling anything. And I like that. Why? Because it serves me. It works well for me. And I designed my business that way. You know, my friend Carrie, she takes off 3 months a year, you know, and she was a help when I was starting my business, telling me like, hey, be conscious of what you're designing, because the way you design it is the way it's going to run. So, you know, but I was always asking I still am to this day, whenever somebody asks me if I want to do something with my business, and or I'm designing or figuring out what I'm going to do next, the first thing that I always do is look at my life and say, would it bring joy to my life? And do I like the way my life looks like if this is included? Do I like that? Yes. Okay, then I'll put it on my plate and bring it in. It doesn't impede in my day-to-day life. Like I can still have my weeks off, and I can still have plenty of time to do what I want to do. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, then, yeah, I'll bring it in. If the answer is no, then I just don't do it. And people look at me and they're like, oh my God, you accomplish so much. You do so much with your business. It's like, yeah, I keep moving forward, and I keep expanding, and I keep growing, and the business does too. And that's just natural. It's organic. You know, nothing just stays the same. Everything is organic. Everything is expanding and growing and moving, of course. But I never sacrifice what I want my life to look like, ever. You know, I could have I had opportunities to make millions and had opportunities to make much more money. And I'm not willing to sacrifice what I want my day-to-day life look like for money. I believe that I can make the money that I want or need and have my life the way that I want it. That's what I believe. So that's what I do. And so far it's been working. So, and I expect it to be working better and better, you know? So, I just read the first sentence, and I think I should probably comment on it. The downside to being an employee, they want to squeeze every last dime out of you. They play a numbers game. You are usually not a person. You are a resource. Right. And the only reason that it's like that is because we hand our power over to the employer, which is wrong and which we shouldn't be doing. You know, we have to stop being victims. It's not the employer's fault. It's your fault. We have to get out of this mindset. I'm telling you, across the board, there is no room in my teachings or in my life for anybody. I don't give a crap what the scenario is. Nobody is in control of me and what I do. You know, of course, yeah, they want to squeeze every dime out of you. Why? It's because people let them. That's why. You know, I've told this story many times. 3 jobs after I woke up and before I started my business, 3 times my boss said that there was a mandatory meeting when I was supposed to be with my son. And 3 times I turned them down. And 3 times I suffered no repercussions. I did not lose my job, even though it was threatened that I was going to lose it. And all 3 of them actually made a comment about respecting me as a father by the time I left that company, usually when I was leaving the company. But this is what it is people like, oh, we have a mandatory meeting. And they're like, oh, crap, we all got to go. And I'm going, no, I'm not going to be there. And they're like, yeah, well, it's mandatory. You have to be. And I'm like, no, it's mandatory that I spend time with my son. That's what's mandatory in my world. So if you want to fire me over that, then fine, go ahead, fire me. And they didn't. Now, I'm not saying to do that in every situation. It's just, you know, what we have to stop acting like. We act like corporations don't have any freaking power over you. You're their workforce. You make them money. The reason that corporations can tell you what to do is because you allow it. That's why. And all the other people in there allow it. That's why. And this is, if our formula for happiness is waiting until everybody else in the world fixes their dysfunctions and treats us properly, and then we'll be happy, that's a crappy formula. Stop putting it out there. We are not victims of other people. There are other jobs you can get. I understand that, like we don't just snap our fingers and, it's the ego talk. Everybody wants to rationalize why, it's amazing to me how much people fight for their right to be miserable. Well, you don't understand, Glenn. Bullshit. I don't understand. You want to know how many freaking jobs I've had, how many scenarios I've been in? I'm freaking 53. I've been around the block. I've seen it all. I understand the dynamics. I understand corporations. I understand the government. I understand how things work. I understand dynamics. I get it. I know it's not easy. I'm not, just because I'm simplifying things doesn't mean that my perspective is, oh, screw you. You should just stand up and quit. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is stop being a victim and start chipping away at this stuff. That's what I'm saying. Because there are ways you can stand up to bosses. A lot of the stuff that people complain about is actually illegal that these corporations do to people. And they're like, everybody, it blows my mind how you can have like 10,000 people going, do you believe the company does this to us? Think about that for a minute. 10,000 people complaining about a company doing something illegal to them? File a lawsuit. Stand up and do it. Like, my God, do something. Go start your own business. Just don't be a victim of it. Don't point the finger outside and say it's somebody else's fault. It's not somebody else's fault. It's your fault because it's your life. There is something you can do to change it. Sometimes it's starting your own business. Sometimes it's standing up to your boss. Sometimes it's changing jobs. Sometimes it's filing a lawsuit. And there's probably 150,000 other things that it can look like. It's not just one. So I'm not saying it's simple. What I'm saying is if you want to go start a business because you don't like working for other people, that's me, right? I do not do well working for other people. I just don't. I never have. I'm sure I never will. So me starting a business, this is what I was supposed to do. But I'm not going to go. So I think I'm going to end on this. I think this will kind of wrap it up nicely. We have to stop doing things out of frustration and start doing things out of self-love. Okay. So this is what I'm talking about. I don't want people coming from victim mentality. That's frustration, and it's the wrong energy. So when Michael Bernard Beckwith, if you don't know him, look him up. He's a pretty big deal. He has an international spiritual conglomerate. That's probably the wrong word. Spiritual center where he does all kinds of wonderful work internationally. And it's based in California, called Agape. So he started this, I think, somewhere around the mid 80s or something. I don't know. He started many years ago. When he started that, what he did is he formed a group of people to create this spiritual center. And he said that the first thing that they did is he made sure that people forgave or talked through or shifted their perspective on blame for anybody outside of them that was kind of their reason for being a part of starting this new spiritual center. And the reason he did that was because he didn't want the energy of the center to be born out of frustration and anger and hate. He wanted it to be born out of love. So he was like, if you have a resentment, we got to work through this resentment. Because other people, they were creating a spiritual center, right? So other people came from different religions and spiritual belief systems that some of them had problems with those other systems. That's why they wanted to get out of there and create this new system that they believed in more. Okay. So this is my point. We can't birth something beautiful out of hate. We can't become empowered out of an energy of victim. This is why I'm fine-tuning it. You know, it's all about being very specific with our energy. If you get down to energy, everything simplifies. Okay, so the energy has to be from love. We need to, and that's empowerment. You see, so do you see how it's starting to connect with the other words that I was using? So like, if we create our new life and we take action out of self-love, the way we talk to people is different. If you have to stand up to your boss, you're not like, you treat me like crap. No, that's victim. When you talk to your boss and you go, listen, I don't work well with people yelling at me. So we just can't have that anymore. We need to be able to communicate without yelling. Okay, thank you. And then you walk out. Because then it's about you. It's not about them. Your life needs to be about you and your self-love and what you will put up with and what you won't put up with. Not about what they're doing to you. That's disempowering. You're giving them your power and saying, you shouldn't be doing this to me. I'm your victim and you need to stop. No. No, you're not their victim. You're designing your life the way you want it. So you design it. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. It's the empowerment, taking responsibility for your life, designing your life to look the way you want it to look. Hopefully that. It was kind of like a 2 or 3 part wrap up, but hopefully it kind of sealed everything together. So at the end of the day, it's all about empowerment, taking responsibility for your life, not being a victim, not acting out of frustration, just being, taking responsibility for your life, shifting your perspective on things. Go shift your perspective on stuff to where you're not a victim, where you're choosing to do what enhances your life, or I'm doing this temporarily while I'm job searching, or while I'm starting a new business, or, take some action if something needs to change. But yeah, just start with shifting your perspectives first to where you're not a victim and you're not falling for this external stress idea. You are way more powerful than you realize, and you have way more control over your life than you realize. So start leaning into that, So that's going to be it for 4-4-22/4. All right, everybody. Thank you for participating. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you. I'm going to click my ending. Shoot me a message if I can be of service. Talk with you soon. Peace.
Looking for more? Check out over 200 episodes of Life Lessons and Laughter, or click the link in the description of this episode to connect with Glenn directly.